Today we are going to talk about Tarrare. I don't know. Either way, he only has one name, like Madonna. Tarrare was born in 1772, and he was known for having an insatiable appetite. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh, teenage boys are just bottomless pits, but no, this guy literally was a bottomless pit. So first and foremost, when he was born, he was like a normal 8-pound baby, no big deal, right? But by the time he was a teenager, he could devour a quarter of a cow in one day. He ate so much that his family had to throw him out of their house because they just couldn't afford to feed him anymore. What's crazy is that his appearance did not match his appetite. He was like regular height, but he was like actually pretty skinny. They said that he was 17 years old and only weighed 100 pounds. He had very, very, very soft, fair hair and an abnormally wide mouth, which the teeth were, of course, heavily stained and the lips were like almost transparent. When he had not eaten, his skin would hang so loosely from his body that he could pull the skin on his abdomen around to his back. And when he was full, his stomach distended like a balloon. Again, his cheeks was also very, very loose. And when stretched out, he could fit up to 12 apples in his mouth at a time. Like, let's have that be my bobbing for apples partner, because we're gonna win. His body was hot to the touch, so he was always very feverish, and he sweat constantly. And his sweat was very, very, very putrid. Let me read this quote by quote. Just stinking to such a degree that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces. Tarrare joined the French Revolutionary Army in 1792. Unfortunately, he quickly found that the standard military rations were not going to be enough to appease his huge appetite. He actually ended up falling victim to exhaustion, and he was admitted to a military hospital. They quadrupled his rations, and it was still not enough. They decided they were going to keep him in the hospital for further study. They gave him food intended for 15 people. They gave him a live cat to eat. R.I.P. I don't agree with that. Snakes, lizards, puppies, and an entire eel. Military officers decided to try and employ Tarrare as a courier because they thought that he was the perfect hiding space. He could just eat the documents and then cross enemy lines and then just get them out later in his doo-doo. So that didn't work, and he was actually captured by the Prussians and tortured for a little bit, and then they put him through a mock execution before eventually letting him go. He was like, yeah, that's not for me. So he went back to the hospital, and he was willing to try anything to cure his absolutely insatiable appetite. They tried wine vinegar, tobacco pills. They tried feeding him nothing but hard-boiled eggs. They tried so many different things, but his appetite could never be satiated, and it got to the point where he was sneaking out of the hospital and fighting stray dogs for garbage thrown out from restaurants. And he was also found drinking the blood of other patients in the hospital while they were doing bloodletting. Eventually, he was kicked out of the hospital because a 14-month-old child went missing, and all fingers pointed to Tarrare consuming that child. Now, several years later, Tarrare was actually dying, and he contacted the initial doctor that tried to help him at the hospital, and he claims he had swallowed a golden fork, and he thinks that that's what had punctured his insides, and that's what was killing him. But the doctor determined that he was actually dying from tuberculosis. Nobody wanted to do an autopsy on him except for the same doctor in question. When they did the autopsy, his gullet was found to be abnormally wide, and when his jaws opened, surgeons could see down like a broad canal into his stomach. His body was filled with pus, and his liver and gallbladder were abnormally large, and his stomach was enormous and covered in ulcers and filling most of his abdominal cavity. It's actually really hard not to feel sorry for this guy, because I've read stories and seen articles about children that have, an insatiable appetite, a medical reason. And it's very hard to watch them struggle through constantly being hungry, because I know when I'm hungry, I turn into a raging bitch. I can't imagine constantly being hungry and have to live like that. So if you guys liked this, please give me a like, give me a share, and comment down below and tell me what you think about Tarrare and his penchant for eating anything he possibly can.